All right, so we concluded Revelation 13 yesterday, and I've just kind of been on a writing kick now that my life kind of settled down a little from helping my son move. So we're going to follow that momentum and go right into Revelation 14. So this is going to be the first part of Revelation 14, and usually I kind of set this up with an intro video to kind of preview what I'm going to be writing about, but the majority of Revelation 14 has already been discussed, and so now it's just kind of hitting the outlier things that haven't really been talked about. And one of those outlier things that hasn't really been talked about yet, although it has been mentioned absolutely, specifically in Revelation 7's discussion, is the redemption of the two witnesses. We saw them sealed in Revelation 7, and now we see the conclusion of their ministry on earth, their redemption, their physical redemption, moving them up to heaven, and that's where we see them. So we're going to pick up with like we did at the beginning of Revelation 13, with the beast rising up out of the sea, which is the same thing as ascending out of the bottomless pit, which was shown in Revelation 11. We're going to pick up with trumpet 6 here in Revelation 14 also, because the 144,000 standing on heavenly Mount Zion with the Lamb is the outcome of them having been physically redeemed from the earth. They are the cloud that the two witnesses were caught up with in Revelation 11, just prior to the end of trumpet 6. So Revelation 11, Revelation 13, and Revelation 14 of the midpoint chapters all begin with trumpet 6. Revelation 12 begins with trumpet 7, and Revelation 15 is just kind of entirely different. So, but just to show, and I'm throwing this chart back here to show you both the parallel events and the sequential events, and specifically what relates to trumpet 6, because like I said, the beginning of Revelation 11, the beginning of Revelation 13, and the beginning of Revelation 14 all begin amidst trumpet 6 and then move into trumpet 7. So let us begin with a discussion of the redemption, the physical redemption of the 144,000, which starts off Revelation 14. It is now time to delve into Revelation 14, where we will see the conclusion of the parallel events from the charts we have been using for our midpoint chapter study. And I have the pertinent point pasted right there. To begin study of this chapter, we will need to return to Revelation 11 and discuss the resurrection of the two witnesses along with the cloud they are caught up with. This cloud is the subject at hand in the first verses of Revelation 14. Before we revisit the sequence of events from Revelation 11, let us look at the verses in question to see how this is the case. Here is another view of the chart showing parallel events. So there's that, and as you can see, trumpet 6 has the related events. Revelation 11, it's the beast descending out of the bottomless pit, overcoming and killing the two witnesses, and then the two witnesses are resurrected and caught up to heaven with 144,000. Revelation 13's parallel of that is the beast rising up out of the sea and receiving the appearance of a deadly head wound that was healed on account of the two witnesses that he overcame and killed. And then Revelation 14's parallel of that is the 144,000 having been physically redeemed. Revelation 14:1. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having his Father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps, and they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb, and in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. The verses above detail the physical redemption of the 144,000 who were sealed in Revelation 7. As we discussed in our Revelation study, these 144,000 are sealed in the space after the opening of Seal 7 and before the sounding of Trumpet 1. If you missed that discussion, here is a brief explanation. The brief explanation provided to show how we are able to draw that conclusion. I'm proofreading as I go. To understand, and this text is taken from the study of Revelation 7. To understand when precisely the 144,000 will be sealed, we need only to look at the other imagery given in Revelation 7. Let us revisit the verses in question. Revelation 7:1. And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. As noted, there are 4 angels given to hurt the earth, sea, and trees. They cannot do so until the servants of God are sealed. When does Revelation's sequence of events tell us that the first harm will come to the earth, sea, and trees? And that's found in Revelation 8, starting in verse 7, with the first 4 trumpet judgments, which I then talk about there. The harming of the earth, sea, and trees will come at the hand of the 4 angels to whom are given trumpet 1, trumpet 2, trumpet 3, and trumpet 4. Thus, we identify that the sealing of the 144,000 will come before the sounding of any trumpet judgments. However, we can and should be even more specific. Revelation 7:2 says, And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea. The key word used to precisely pinpoint the time when the 144,000 will be sealed is the word given. The angels who sound the trumpet judgments are given their trumpets to sound in Revelation 8:2. This occurs after the opening of seal 7. Revelation 8:1. When he had opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. We can precisely pinpoint the sealing of the 144,000 to the space after seal 7 is opened and before trumpet 1 is sounded. For the angels to whom it is given to hurt the earth, sea, and trees by reason of trumpets 1 through 4 are not given those trumpets until after seal 7 is opened. We can now answer the first of our questions. Oh, I deleted that. I delete that too. Okay, so there we go. That's when they're sealed, between the opening of, after the opening of seal 7 and before the sounding of trumpet 1. Revelation gives precise parameters for the ministry of the 144,000, and it encompasses none of the seal judgments and all of the trumpet judgments with the exception of trumpet 7. As noted, the conclusion of the ministry of the 144,000 is noted in Revelation 11. Revelation 11:11. And after 3 days and a half, the Spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet. Great fear fell upon them which saw them. Naturally, this is talking about the 2 witnesses. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and a 10th part of the city fell. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. And the remnant were affrighted, and gave glory to the God of heaven. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. The 144,000 are the cloud that the 2 witnesses will be caught up with. Hebrews 12 defined our terminology, and 1 Thessalonians 4 established the precedent. Said precedent is repeated here in Revelation with the 2 witnesses and with Jesus Christ himself. Hebrews 12:1. Here is the terminology, starting in verse 1. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. 1 Thessalonians 4:16. This is regarding us. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of God. And the dead in Christ shall rise first, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. From Revelation regarding Jesus, which is mirrored in Matthew 24. Revelation 1:7, Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. Matthew 24:29, talking about the same thing. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. The stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. Then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. In the case of Hebrews 12, the cloud of witnesses were the Old Testament saints who will be invited into the kingdom on account of their faith. Similarly, believers in the present dispensation, us, will also be invited into the kingdom on account of their faith, and we are the clouds caught up in 1 Thessalonians 4. We believers from the present dispensation, along with the two witnesses and the 144,000, will be the clouds that Jesus will be returning with at his second coming. Clouds are not white puffy things that change based on weather. Rather, they are denotive of groups of people who meet the same precondition as to participate in the event at hand. Thus, the cloud in Revelation 11 that the two witnesses are caught up in are a group of people who meet the same precondition. Revelation 11:12, and they heard a great voice out of heaven saying unto them, Come up hither, and they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. When we next see the 144,000, they will be standing on heavenly Mount Zion with the Lamb, singing a song of physical redemption, or redemption. The elders sung their own song of physical redemption in Revelation 5. In Revelation 14, it will be time for the 144,000 to sing theirs. And I'm going to just add physical, lest one try to spiritualize the concept. It is physical. There are many questions with regard to who these 144,000 will be. The fact of the matter is that we are given about as much detail as is possible to give about them. Revelation 7:5. Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben, of Gad, of Asher, of Naphtali, of Manasseh, of Simeon, of Levi, of Issachar, of Zebulun, of Joseph, and Benjamin, all 12,000. If you question why those names are given in their order, in that specific order, why those names are given in that specific order, or if you question why there are changes from the original 12 tribes, Dan is excluded while Manasseh is included, I invite you to go back to Revelation 7 and read the discussion there. I am not going to repeat it, but it is actually quite fascinating. Beyond the order of the names, the order and names of the tribes listed, Revelation 14 gives additional detail about these 144,000. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. If we are to take those words literally, there is nothing more we really need to say about them. There will be 144,000 faithful male Jews from the 12 tribes of Israel, the original 12 with Manasseh replacing Dan, who will be faithful to Christ alone and who will witness to Israel alongside the two witnesses for the duration of the first half of Daniel's 70th week. At the conclusion of their ministry, they will be physically redeemed by God, telling them to come up hither, and they will ascend to heaven in front of the world. Once in the throne room of heaven, they will be with the Lamb who they followed on earth, and they will sing a song of redemption that only they know the words to. The only thing left to discuss about them is why they are called the firstfruits unto God and to the Lamb. So that's where I stopped, and this is where we get into the harvest conversation. People try to make the harvest about the church. It doesn't apply to us. The harvest typology is for Israel and Israel alone. And for those of you who are familiar with the harvest typology, you know there's a first fruits, a main harvest, and a gleaning. This is the first fruits of the Jewish harvest. Is the first fruits is the redemption of the 144,000. The main harvest is described in Matthew 13, which is the harvest at the end of the world. The reapers are the angels. They gather all of the things out of the kingdom that offend and cast them into outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. That is the same thing that Matthew 24 talked about, where two are in the field, one shall be taken, the other left. The one taken is the one gathered out of the kingdom, not allowed to go in. The ones who are left are going into the kingdom. And then the gleaning, and that's also in Matthew 24, where he sends his angels to gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. The four winds, or the four corners of the earth, are talking about the gleaning. That's where they would leave things for like the widows and the poor so that they didn't go hungry, as they leave them in the corners of the fields called the gleaning. So the harvest typology starts here in Revelation 14 with the first fruits, and then the end is the main harvest, which I guess would be the remnant, and then gathering people who are scattered into the kingdom, that's your gleanings. So that I have to talk about as the typology, and then we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff we've already talked about, namely the 3 angels that are going to fly through the midst of heaven, denoting trumpet 7 has begun, has been sounded. It starts with the preaching of the everlasting gospel, the warning that Babylon is fallen, and the command not to worship the beast, his image, or receive his mark, lest people die in eternal torment, if not physically, definitely spiritually in the immediately from thereafter, and then they'll die physically at a point in the future also. And then we get into kind of what Revelation 11 did in verse 18 with a template of the rest of the book. Revelation 14 does the same with a template of the rest of the 70th week, with Jesus reaping the earth and eventually treading the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God when he returns at the second coming. So that is kind of the roadmap for the rest of this chapter, but this is what I have so far. I'm going to continue working, as always, until such a time that it is finished. It is subject to change, but probably won't change because there's really no reason for it to, and I don't think there's anything else really to add at this part. But yes, next up, the harvest typology. So if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, let me know. I'll see you guys later.